I'm excited to have with me as my guest Omar Cumberbatch. He is a professional health coach, podcast host of two shows, Health Coach Academy, and this podcast Burns Fat. I love the title. and, and he's here today to talk about his successful career and how he maintains a healthy lifestyle. Welcome to the show, Omar.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, long overdue. I've been trying to get you on the show for a while, but here we are, and I'm excited
Yes.
to have with us, I should say. We're going to have listeners and viewers watching this show because it's going to be on broadcast and on the podcast as well. So how exciting is that? So, um, Omar, tell us, when did your passion begin to become a professional health coach?
Yeah, so my story is kind of interesting. I was always into fitness and health. It was kind of just I didn't have the correct information. So let's start out with that. I was one of those people who, if I was trying to lose weight, I'd go to the gym every day, literally, and I'd run like 5 miles. And then if it wasn't working, which at the time it wasn't, I'd say, okay, I just have to run 6 miles. I was just one of those people who I thought I can like outwork any of the deficiencies that I was having in that arena. And it didn't come to a head until one time I was just going down a YouTube rabbit hole about something that had nothing to actually do with health, right? And I came up and stumbled upon this guy who eventually became like my hero and eventually my mentor. And he was just talking about sugar. And at this point, Christy, I was trying everything. I tried Atkins. I had tried being a vegetarian. I've tried all different kinds of things. And again, like I was saying, I was working out, running, doing everything I thought was the right thing to do. And I just wasn't getting any results, even remotely, of what I was putting in the effort for. And then I stumbled upon this particular YouTube video, and he was talking about sugar. And I'm like, listen, I just did a quick assessment of just even my breakfast. And I used to always have a banana and Dunkin' Donuts
Oh,
coffee with milk and three sugars. And added it up. It was like over 50 something grams of sugar just for breakfast. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just see what happens. And I just changed that. I went from just a coffee. I cut the banana out. The banana was bad for sugar purposes, right? And I cut the sugar out of the coffee and I used it, like started drinking it black.
mm,
And when I tell you the weight was falling off me so fast that people would come up to me literally and say, "Are you okay? Are you sick?" It's like this. I was like, "No, I really just did this one change to my diet and all these different things started happening." But that's what fascinated me into get into health coach. I said, wow, what if I just did this one thing and all this happened? And what else could I do? What other like hidden gems are out there? Because I was really caught up in that low fat era. And obviously now that I've been health coaching for a while, I noticed that, that just really meant if it had low fat, they really ramped up the sugar. So my sugar intake, I couldn't even tell, probably 200 something grams a day. Now to get it below that, it was just a complete change in my diet. And that was really how I said, you know what, I want to be a health coach. I want to find out more. I want to share the story. I want to tell people the dangers of this, actually.
yes. I mean, do you have a little bit of sugar in your diet uh, still, or is it just completely no sugar?
Oh, yes, I definitely have sugar in the diet on occasion. It's definitely not what it used to be. Because what's interesting at that point, right? I was such a sugar addict that I would never have ever thought in a million years I'd be able to cut it back. I was so bad. I like, even when I had dinner, if I ran out of soda, I'd run to the gas station, get some soda, and come back just to drink, right? Um, but the good thing, and I tell anybody who's a client of mine, is that your taste buds do change. And that's really the key thing that I wanted. I never thought it would happen to me, but even today, I just limit it. And because my taste buds have changed so much, I don't crave it as much. Like my cravings actually are more in the salty, crunchy world as opposed to like the sugary world, which again, being such a sugar addict, never in my wildest dreams I would imagine that I would even like not be interested in sugar like that. Like things are too sweet for me. Where like I was that person who graduated from Coke to Pepsi because Coke wasn't sweet enough at some point. It was like getting that bad. And now I can't even have Coke. It's just too sweet. It's like amazing.
Well, how long did it take for you to, get rid of that urge for eating sugar? Was it like 6 weeks or 6 months, or how did it?
For me, I think it was like you had mentioned, maybe the 6 week kind of thing. I've heard very, very drastically different stories. I tried to do it with kind of just ripping the band-aid off and going cold turkey. And I hear other people like to weed themselves off. When I did it cold turkey, and I started to really notice the changes like around, like you said, that 6 week mark. But I I just pushed through it like everything else. Like I said before, that was kind of my mentality about it. But I don't know if that's the best advice. It's really just to the individual. There's a lot of people who I teach to how to wean it off, just to become more conscious of it. And then you just start seeing it. And really, again, it goes back to those taste buds. It's amazing how quickly it's just not the same for you anymore.
Yes, I mean, losing weight is just wonderful. But what about mentally? I understand that eating too much sugars can affect your mood.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the reason, that funny thing, I bring up the weight thing is because it was that drastic for, I guess, my appearance and people noticing. But I definitely had way more energy. I definitely felt like I was sleeping better. My mood was different. I didn't have as many cravings. Like I said, the sugar cravings specifically, especially like after lunchtime and like you're about to crash and stuff like that. The highs and lows that I was at feeling like energy wise were steadying out a bit. That was definitely something that I noticed right off the bat. So that was an interesting byproduct of the sugar component too. Like that and just and I didn't have like that strong. Thank God, I've heard some stories about like more severe withdrawals, but I kind of pushed through it. If I had it, it was like a while ago now, so I don't remember that intensity at all. And yeah, I haven't turned back since.
Yes. Well, it's certainly, I don't know, like can cause diseases, maybe diabetes. Like there's just things like too much sugar is not a good thing. And I mean, I have a sweet tooth, Omar, but I have generally speaking cut back on my sugar intake because I noticed your mood, you crash. You said the word crash, like
Yeah.
you're high when you're low energy, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and absolutely, like you mentioned, there's a lot of studies out there that say sugar feeds cancers. Obviously, the diabetes is rampant, and a lot of the things is that I found frustrating about just the whole idea behind sugar, and what we've really been led to believe is, especially like I was saying, growing up at a time where low fat was a big deal, and they were just replacing so many things with sugars, and it eventually became hidden sugars. People were really doing the right thing. They thought they were doing something that was not going to be a detriment to their health. And then even when people started getting hip to the idea of the dangers of sugars, it seemed like they switched it up, and now they have some people say over 70 names for sugar. So if you don't see sugar in there, it doesn't mean that there's no sugar in there. And you have to work additionally hard in that context to actually be able to stop and cut back on sugar, which is a terrible thing,
Yes. I mean, read the labels or try to figure out what the ingredients are, which is like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's it's wonderful. Congratulations. You're an inspiration for those, who want to lead a healthier lifestyle, which brings me up to your two podcasts. I mean, Health Coach Academy, right? Health Coach
Yes.
Academy. And this podcast Burns Fat, which I said at the beginning. I love that. I love the title. Yeah, so tell our viewers and listeners about your two podcast shows, your successful podcast shows, I should say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's start with your favorite titled one. Is this podcast Burns Fat? It's a weight loss podcast, and we were trying to think of something that was unique. And like I mentioned earlier, my mentor helped us along with a little bit of that name, and is really successful. And we truly believe it sounds like it's a weight loss podcast, which it is. But we truly believe that weight loss is just a byproduct of being healthier. So we talk about how we become healthier, and that's eventually going to lead to that. So we don't lead with just weight loss all the time. Like, for instance, we had a guy on recently who was just talking about the benefits of omega-3 and just overall. Yeah, eventually, because it does help in stabilization of blood sugar, of many other things, and prevents inflammation. That's eventually going to reflect on the scale. So that was really the genesis of that. And we've been consistently bringing not only weight loss information, but health-based information as well. So that's obviously the one that has a lot more downloads because everyone's interested in the weight loss component. So that's our most successful show. And then I have my own podcast called the Health Coach Academy, where I do interview other health coaches and people in business space, because one of the things that I felt when I got my certification, I just didn't have the business acumen to make any money off health coaching. You know, I just didn't know what to do. I know the knowledge, I know how to help a person get over some of their health difficulties, but I didn't know how to get clients. I didn't know what branding was. I didn't know what marketing was. There was terms like copy I've never heard of, and how important that is. And it's been really an educational journey for myself, and it's selfishly driven because I was like, I want to learn about this and I want to talk to experts. You're going to be on that show very shortly, just how you walk through and how you became a success. It's an inspiration for all of us to see how other business people succeed. So that's really what the format of that show is, and that's doing very well in like the career and business space as well.
Yes, I mean, do you have a favorite guest or
Oh,
show?
there's so many. It's like it's interesting. I said my mentor was on the show, so I got to give him a shout out. His name is Sean Croxton. He's my hero, and he's always going to be someone near and dear to my heart as far as just getting me established. And that was on the Health Coach Academy side. And man, there's so many different people on this podcast, Burns Fat, because we've done so many of the more popular doctors and like, I guess, people in that space. So I couldn't pick one without getting in a lot of trouble. So I'll just leave that one alone. But we have a guest in any kind of genre there. Like we interview carnivores, vegetarians, people who are experts in intermittent fasting. So whatever your flavor is, we have someone over there who can actually give you a great show.
Yes, I mean, there's something for everyone.
Absolutely.
Whatever diet you're following, but it's like which is why we need more health coaches like yourself, right?
Yeah. Kind of help you navigate that.
Yes. I mean, where can people go to listen to your podcast?
Oh, both podcasts are on all the major outlets. So, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. You can ask Alexa to let's hear an episode of this podcast for his fan, and she'll throw it on. Yeah, so it's really cool. We've been able to put them on any platform where podcasts are heard. And, my website is omarcumberbatch.com. And I have, two categories, one for each podcast. So if you see that, I have tons of show notes. You can just look and see if anything is of interest to you could definitely download and even actually read about what the episode's about before you even click the button to listen in.
Yes. Well, is there anything coming up? New projects you're working on?
Oh yeah. Well, right now, it's interesting. I've created a podcast course that I just released recently, and that's available as well. And I felt that again for health coaches, it's a great way to connect with other people who are in the space and give them inspiration and actually become an authority in their positioning. So that's really what that course is about. So that was just released, and I'm actually working with Dr. Lori Shemick, my partner, and we're going to be doing something in the spring that's going to be based around like 6 pillars of health that lead to weight loss, including, the components of sugar, toxins in your diet, how to curb inflammation, Inflammation is a very interesting topic on its own. It's like really being seen as one of the major causes of most diseases, and
Mm.
how to tamper that creates weight loss as another byproduct, but again prevents other serious diseases. So there's 6 pillars, but those are like the top three that we really dive in, that are um a little bit more and deeper. So that's going to be coming out soon as well. So those are like the two projects that I'm working on currently.
Well, stay tuned, everyone who's listening and watching the show, and tune in as well. And Omar, I'd like to thank you for being a guest on the show, and I'd like to welcome you back.
Yeah, I would love that. Absolutely. Yeah, this has been fantastic. I definitely love the way that you approach this show. It's nice and quick, and you allowed me to get to the points very well. So you're a great interviewer.
Yeah, thanks so much. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
So
anytime. My pleasure.